The reality is that if you want to lead, you're with us here today. If you want to be a great leader, you're with us here today. And great leaders dream. And if you stop dreaming or are afraid to dream, the reality is it's only a matter of time where people will stop following.
This is the Untamed podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your Untamed hosts, Marc Lucas and Joel Fritz.
It's impossible to lead without a dream. And if we're unwilling to dream, it's only a matter of time until followers are unwilling to follow.
Marc.
Mic drop.
I'm glad I'm here with you today. I think I got to tell you, man, that's what our guys need to hear. Yeah. So welcome, Untamed Few. We're so glad to be with you guys today. And we've got some good stuff to say about dreams. We're talking about dreams, and we know we're talking to high achievers, people who are leading other people. And we are saying you need dreams to lead people. Because if you don't have a dream, who's going to follow you, really? I mean, what a statement you just made. But if you guys will stick with us to the end, we're going to talk about some practical steps that you can take to be able to bring your dreams from your head, from that dreamland into reality. So we're hoping you'll stick with us, but we've got some good stuff. And Marc you were telling me something earlier, and I want everybody to hear it because it's pretty key. And it's your story about a dream that you have had and what you had to do to grasp that dream.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. So again, pivotal point in my life. Here I am. I'm married at this point.
Yeah.
My wife is really pregnant. Beautiful.
Really pregnant? Is there a difference?
It's not a halfway pregnant. It's full on. The goalie is pulled. She's pregnant. And in that process of being pregnant, I begin to process with God a dream that He had really began to kind of put in the center of my heart. And that dream, over the course of kind of about a 6 to 8 month period, I would hear the dream, I'd begin to visualize that dream, I'd begin to contextualize that dream, and I was by myself, and then I would just push the dream back down.
Yeah.
And then I, again, go through that process, visualize, contextualize, submerse, and push down.
I've been there, yeah.
And in that process of doing this, I began to identify that security and financial security is such an important part for us as men. And we desire our families, our wives, we desire security. And in this place, in the marketplace where I was at just 26, was in the business working alongside my mom and my dad. And I loved working with them. I loved it. And I loved it for a myriad of reasons, but I loved it because one of the reasons why I loved it is because there was such a beautiful opportunity to grow what they had started 50 years prior. So my parents had built up, we were in a family business of ladies apparel clothing stores.
Yeah.
And over the course of, like I said, 50 years, my parents had built up a very robust company. And the company had 5 clothing stores, retail stores in 5 different shopping centers in Arizona. And we're at a point where we're doing combined tens of millions of dollars in sales.
Wow.
And I'm stepping in with an understanding of business with my father. And my sister and I both are in the process of taking over the company.
Yeah.
So there is so much financial security that is in the occupation that I have at this point. And my wife knows that. I know that. The writing is on the table. It's on the wall. All the employees know the plan. My parents are dreaming and envisioning, really sailing off into the sunset. My dad was a Harley guy, so maybe riding off in the sunset on his Harley Davidson with my mom and really turning everything over because my sister and I had really taken over the majority of the operations.
Yeah.
And yet I'd get the dream and I push it down.
Right.
And there was so much in this as I've reflected back on it and also spent a lot of time with great men over the years in conversations where we kind of get to this place of realizing that we have a dream, and yet if we just stay on the path that's comfortable, we stay on the path that has great success financially, and we forget about the dream, we at least have comfort, we at least have financial stability as far as we know, as far as we can forecast. And yet in that process of this, I came to a place of saying, I'm tired of pushing down this dream. I'm tired of squashing this dream. So I came to a place of talking with my wife, who is fully pregnant, and she's very hormonal. And in this process
You're a risk taker, man.
I should be wearing the t-shirt. It's sometime in the podcast, I do have a shirt that actually my wife got me, and it says, I love my hot wife. So I should probably have on the hot wife t-shirt. I wore that for my birthday weekend a few weekends ago, and then the bros loved it. But in the process of my wife hearing this for the first time, we're having this exchange back and forth in this dialogue. And she has no context and no understanding of where this is coming from. And she's really have a hard time, really, understandably, having a hard time hearing the dream. Because there's so much comfort in the financial security of knowing what this could do for our family, for our future family. Beyond just having one child, we had dreams as we do have 3 children. So as the family is growing, this is just really hard to hear. It's really hard to hear. And to the point, Joel, and again, I won't give too many details because I just can't tell you how much I appreciate my wife and my family. But as my wife and my family began to hear this dream, and as I began to verbalize this dream out loud with them, they completely punted it and rejected it.
Wow.
They completely pushed back on this dream and said, I don't even know how this can be a dream that you really are sharing with me right now, because it just feels selfish. It feels like you're not caring about the 50 years of us pouring into building up a family business.
Wow. Yeah.
And again, I think for a lot of us as men, I think when we begin to articulate dreams out loud to ourselves, and then we take that step of courage and faith to do that with somebody else that we trust, probably those closest to us first, and they don't receive it well, to whatever margin of whatever degree, it is extremely hard. And it was extremely hard for me. And the dream was for me to go into full-time ministry and to become a pastor. And when you take that moment, it was Easter, around the time of Easter, when I began to articulate this dream with my wife. And then next came my parents and my sister, who was also involved in the family business. Take that conversation, and then you fast forward a good 10 months later. 10 months later, when I officiated my first wedding as a pastor, a licensed pastor at that point, I officiated the first wedding, and I officiated a wedding for my sister. And my sister and my mom, with my wife after in tears, came to me and said, I am so glad that you shared that dream.
Man.
And I'm so glad you did not squash that dream.
Wow.
Because this is exactly the dream that God has for you. And this is exactly what God wants you to do. But it took 9 months, and they were a rocky 9 months. A rocky 9 months. A lot of uncertainties of finances. A lot of uncertainties about financial security. And it was rocky. And it was hard. Really hard.
Man. So there, you started with I hate to tie these two together, man, but that story, that was awesome. You're talking about pregnancy, your wife actually giving birth to a child, and like I was with you as you gave birth to a dream right there. And I'll tell you what, giving birth to a dream is not necessarily an easy process.
It was about the same gestation period of 9 months. For it to come to fruition.
It's all right there together. But that's awesome. And there is this question that just keeps resonating in my mind. Mark, I barely even want to say this question seriously.
Say it. Do it.
You know, how long have we been trading our dreams for comfortable mediocrity?
So good.
Dude.
It's a tough question, but the right one.
Because comfortable mediocrity, what does that look like? I mean, that's another question that you could ask. What we could ask our men here, ask the few, what is your comfortable mediocrity? Because there is a moment, it is not bad to want security. It is not bad to want a lifestyle that meets some of the desires that you have, the longings that you have. That's not necessarily wrong, but when you start trading things that are core to you, I mean, like I get the sense as I listen to you, you're willing to lay it all on the line. And we both know after being pastors don't get paid well.
No.
And that's the moral of the story of what you're saying.
Exactly
One
right.
is you can go sell women's clothes.
Yeah.
Ladies need clothes. Hey, trust me, right?
For the rest of their lives, they will.
They will. They need clothes.
And if it's on sale, they'll buy it.
It's a noble pursuit, my
Yeah.
friend. But there's this other thing, and it is like it's going to burn a hole in you if you don't satisfy it. It's a fire that is just going to keep raging, and that fire is never going to go away. And that's what it's like with a real dream. And if we have one of those, then it's just trading. It's just trading. You trade away your dream for something else. And the amazing thing is that you become an example of what to do because you said, I'm going to go for the dream. And the dream didn't yield a lot of money, but it did yield a lot of fulfillment. And I think a lot of men here are looking for fulfillment. That's a question that we're always asking, is how can we be fulfilled? So I think it's just such a powerful thing. And then that question, it just had to come out because that's it. How often have we traded, and how many circumstances have we traded our dreams for that comfortable mediocrity that you're talking about? So way to go, bro. And thanks for sharing the story. Thanks for being an example. I got to say that.
I appreciate that. And I think, again, back to where we were in the last podcast, I think when we trade dreams for comfort and mediocrity, we're putting ourselves back in that bird cage.
Yeah.
And the door is open.
That's it.
So I could have lived, and there's a beautiful place, again, to have the financial security. We're by no means saying that that's a negative thing. It's a great thing. And we are to provide for our families. So that's a wonderful thing for the men that are with us right now. But in this process, the bird cage would have been open.
Right.
And I would have had clipped wings.
Yeah.
And I would have allowed a dream to die.
Yeah.
I would not be here in this exact chair with these men today if I didn't take that dream.
There you go.
There's no way that we would be here together if I didn't take that dream.
I know it.
There's no way you'd be here if you didn't take the dreams and the steps that you took to get out of the cage
100%.
and walk out those dreams.
And I think sometimes those things that create that comfortable mediocrity, they kind of sneak up on us because they're not bad things. They're actually good things. Wanting to be able to provide for your family, good thing. Ding, ding, ding.
100%.
Necessary.
Yeah.
But then the next thing you know, it's a nicer car. It's a nicer house. It's a nicer school for your kids. And then they begin to build bars around you. And the next thing you know, you're in that birdcage. And the door may be open because you have options, but you're not willing to fly out of it. And that's what we're talking about right now. Because people need dreams. Your opening statement was so good. And it makes me think about the fact that we were just at the Space and Rocket Center here in Huntsville. It's like
maybe the great thing, the greatest thing in Huntsville.
That is the greatest thing in Huntsville.
Besides Q and Joel being here.
There you go. What a guy.
Pales in comparison to that.
Q, our video guy, he's amazing.
Hats off to him.
So yeah, no doubt. But we were there, and that's where you actually see a real life dream become a reality. And leaders need dreams. And John F. Kennedy is one of those dreamer presidents that will always be known for that. And he said, I want to see a man on the moon by the end of the decade. And we're not trying to get into whatever conspiracy idea you have or whatever.
Yeah.
This is an example, and I live in Huntsville, and I have seen the rockets. So whether or not all that played out to actually landed on the moon, I believe they did. But it's because I see the rockets, and we walk in this rocket center today. Yeah. And how big were those engines?
It's magnificent.
They were massive. And until you stand underneath the Saturn V and you see just the size of one of the engines, and there's 5 of them.
You're like a little ant.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's this button that you go and they have this display set up. And so there's this button and you go and you push the button and they
Carson loved it,
They
by
tell
the way.
a story.
Yeah.
And I tell Carson, It's
My
okay,
son
man.
loved it, Carson.
Only one kid has died in this little thing or whatever.
And he still pressed it. He's like, okay,
let's do it.
I'm not scared.
And the thrusters come on, but they say, we're in danger. It's 1965, and we're in danger of falling behind in the space race. So here it is. This test could make or break, whether America can get to the moon. And you press, and you're watching it, and then the thrusters ignite. They do the countdown, 7, 6, 5, and you hear all this thrust, and you see it. That's when you feel the magnitude of an individual looking at a group of individuals and saying, we're going to put a man on the moon. Do whatever it takes to make it happen. And they cast vision in a way where people can begin to play their bite-sized role in order that they can see, we as a collective, we as the United States of America can see our efforts take a human being and land them on the moon. And it's extraordinary. But it all begins with vision. It all begins with somebody's crazy dream that nobody wants to embrace, nobody wants to spend the money on, nobody wants to do, and then sharing that with the world in a way that they can digest it and do something with it.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful. And I want to make sure that right now in this point in the podcast that you know that stay with us to the end, because we're going to talk about some integrated action steps for you to be able to walk out and understand what are the steps that we're putting before you to be able to really start walking out your dream.
Absolutely.
But before we get there, we really need to talk about, there's several, but there's two primary reasons why we believe men stop dreaming. And one of those is fear.
Yep.
And one of those is comfort.
Yes.
So I want us to kind of, again, go back quickly just to that birdcage and even to just a brief moment of my dream. So many fears crippled me in that moment. And over the course of several weeks, probably months that went by of me pushing down the dream because of the fears. The fears would creep in and I would push the dream down. The fears would creep in and I'd push the dream down. And yet I didn't have that quote that I started with at that point in my life. But we all know when we started with the hook and the point, the reality is that if you want to lead, you're with us here today. If you want to be a great leader, you're with us here today. And great leaders dream. And if you stop dreaming or are afraid to dream, the reality is it's only a matter of time where people will stop following.
Yeah.
And even within your home to some degree, but definitely in the marketplace and definitely your community. So as we address fears and as we address that bird cage again, it's comfortable to be in the cage with the door open. And fear cripples all of us to some degree throughout our life. But we've got to be able to push through the fears. We got to be able to wrestle and work through those fears and to be able to begin to help the untamed few take those steps. Because again, I still had fear when I had the conversation first with my pregnant wife. And then secondly, at a breakfast place, I remember it vividly like it was yesterday, with my mom, dad, and sister.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly the words that they spoke to me after, and really how hard, with tears coming down my mom's face, with how hard that conversation was and how much she felt like I was disappointing her.
Right.
And again, it took 9 months for her to come back to me and say, I'm so thankful, son, that you walked out that dream.
Yeah.
But I was still extremely afraid in both those conversations. So what do we do, Joel? What do we do in these moments when we have a dream and we have fears?
Well, I'll give you some real quick steps, but I want to make sure that I follow what you said by helping men know that we all have dreams and we all have fears. And I think comfort is the X factor that kind of sneaks up on us. And there are lots of different reasons that we put our dreams aside. There are. But we're focusing on those two things, fear and comfort. Yeah. And those how they inhibit our dreams from becoming reality. And that fear is critical because I think great leaders, they don't move forward without fear. They move forward in spite of fear. And there's a very big difference between that. And that's what you're getting at with your story. It was scary to sit down with your family. So we all feel that resonate, but we all also have to have that collective understanding that we all have that. That's, just because you were able to do it doesn't mean yours was less. It's you were willing to move forward in spite of fear, and that's a practice thing. some of the best coaching I've had is to be able to actually make it a habit to engage your fears or some sort of risk on a regular basis. Yeah. Those are things you can do, but that's specifically related to fear. What can we do about our dreams? Well, I'm super excited to talk about that because I love talking about this and have for decades now, actually. I have a little tool that I use in my coaching programs called the Circle of Clarity. It's one of my go-to things. And it's very helpful because everybody needs clarity. When we start talking about dreams, we need to clarify those dreams in order that we can turn them into something that we can do something with. Mm-hmm. They need to enter reality. So my first step is being able to identify what that dream is. But I think most people that have some sort of dream burning in their heart or floating around in their mind have not taken any action step whatsoever. And so I have an action step for you right now. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Unless you're driving. I just got to say it.
No, Mark, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't interrupt. If you're driving,
close your eyes. Take the wheel. No,
close your eyes.
Jesus, take the wheel. No. That is a good country song, but
close your eyes.
Not on the 400
if you're
freeway
driving,
in Atlanta.
You get a pass right now. So when you stop, pull the car to the side of the road and close your eyes.
I'm stealing your thunder.
And as you close your eyes, picture what that dream looks like. And it's critical because that dream is just kind of floating around in there. But when you create a visual picture of what it is, of what those circumstances might look like you said, I want to be a pastor. I mean, at some point you had to reconcile. This is what that means. Mm-hmm. There's a church in which I have to engage. There's people that I have to pastor. That looks like something. So the first step, just thinking about what that looks like. What is your dream? Is it a business? Is it a healed, mended, reconciled relationship? What does it really look like? Form it in your mind. And it's powerful. It's a powerful first step. But then the second step that you take is that dream has to then move from that image, from your head into reality. So it has to take some sort of a step. Here's 2 steps that I recommend. 1, you write it down. Or 2, you speak it out into your voice app on your phone. Mm-hmm. Do it. One of the 2 things. You don't have to engage another human being to do this. Mm-hmm. It's easy. You do it on your own. But what you're doing is you're crossing this bridge. You're crossing a bridge from the not real in your mind, your imagination, which we have all been created with. Incredible imagination to dream big, but those dreams don't become reality until you start speaking them and writing them out. Just like any architect that has ever designed anything, any artist that finally had to put the paintbrush to the paper, it has to leave your mind and it has to enter the real world. And then finally, third, once it has entered the real world, pen, paper, and you've had a little bit of time to interact with it, and the forces that may come against it, you need to share it with somebody. And that can be scary. Mm-hmm. But that is when the fear is engaged, the comfort is engaged, all these things, the comfortable mediocrity that may be holding that dream back, is going to come into direct contact with that. And you're going to have to decide, is my dream going to live, or is the comfortable mediocrity going to live? Is my dream going to live, or is the fear going to live? Which is it going to be?
Yeah. And I love the last part that you shared as well. I think it's so important for us to continually remind the men that are with us right now to know that we've got to have somebody that we can share this with in the process of the negative realities that are going to happen as we begin to contextualize and share the dreams out loud and begin to really have that process of outwardly sharing dreams with others. Yep. Because there were so many negative realities that I experienced in that especially first season of the dream. Yeah. That I had I'm so thankful, another guy in my corner that was able to really identify and empathize as best he could what I was struggling with, but also support and cheerlead and encourage me in the ways that only he could. Yeah. Because it meant the world to me to know that there were other men, specifically one guy that really walked with me in that first year of me going to ministry. Mm-hmm. Because again, financially, I knew pastors didn't make great money and great salaries. I had a great salary, but I didn't go straight into being a pastor. I went into being an intern. So I am making, no offense to Taco Bell, I'm making what guys at Taco Bell make, and I have a wife and family at this point. Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out how in the Snikes am I going to actually go and afford anything for our first daughter and our family when I'm making a Taco Bell hourly wage as an intern of a church. And yet through that process to be able to have others with me to support me and encourage me and to kind of push me at times was so instrumental and so beautiful. And not that my wife didn't do that. She really did. There was some cheerleading from her as well. But in the reality of the day, I'm so thankful as well that there was somebody in my corner that was in that kind of untamed tribe, in the few that we're gathering right now that have already come, raise their hand to the Facebook group, raise their hand and engage with us and say, you know what? I want to be a part of this tribe. I want to be a part of the few. And because I had a part of a tribe like the Untamed few, and now it is the Untamed few, it meant more than I can ever articulate with words. It meant so much to me. So much to me. So I think I'm glad that you finished with that, because I think that's a really important action step in this process of dreaming, to know that we've identified, here's somebody that's on my life team, here's somebody that's really in my corner, and this is kind of my ride or die guy, and maybe it's more than one, and obviously you and I are both saying we've got ride or die men that are coming forward, that are coming out and saying, I'm a part of the group, I'm part of a future adventure retreats, I'm part of a cohort, I'm raising my hand to say I want to be a part of this tribe and this community, and we love that. And we're organizing that quickly to see some progress and movement in that soon.
Well, thanks for the encouraging words there, and even telling those stories. And I'll tell you what, we look forward to seeing what great things happen and how the few here who are with us today lead in the future.
Thanks, guys.
If this episode sparked something in you, please subscribe and even share it with someone who's ready to take their life to the next level. We're always on the hunt for men who are looking to become untamed and release their untamed potential. Also, if you found value in this conversation, then please rate the podcast and leave a comment. It makes a huge impact in building our community. We'll see you next time when the adventure continues, or maybe when yours begins.